And we have been able to serve over 1 million youth, and we have been able to serve 4 million people total under our financial dignity services rendered to youth and adults. This is the map. Everywhere that you see, there is some color and a star. These are where we have hope locations, but locations are being added every single month. And so, we are forever expanding and growing. But any coach anywhere in the U.S. Is able to work with anyone who is part of the U.S. and Puerto Rico. And that number is our 24-hour hotline. So you are able to call it at any time about Hope services and programs. Our adult empowerment program, the Small Business Development Program, which is the program that I actually work under, working with adults who are interested in being part of the entrepreneurship training program. It is an 8-week course. And let's talk about that. So the Small Business Development Program has a program called the ETP, Entrepreneurship Training Program. It's an 8-week course. The point of the program is to help individuals understand more about business, how business works, and to write a business plan. Writing a business plan can seem something very overwhelming for most, but through the 8 weeks, you are guided by the coach and how to really create the business plan, and we take it one piece at a time. So you also have to present your business plan at the end of the class, which is what we call our Shark Tank. But it's not like Shark Tank that you see on TV. You're really presenting your business plan, because part of it also is helping you to work on your elevator pitch and your presentation skills. When you are applying for grants or any type of funding, you need to be able to speak about your business with comfort and efficiency. So we also work on that as part of the 8-week course, using the mock Shark Tank as a tool. Technical assistance is provided for you, so you have your coach who will help you, and there are also other programs throughout the Hope Operation Hope that are able to help you as well. We bring in subject matter experts that speak about different topics. In the cohort that I currently have, I had a marketing expert that came in. If you were in the art of pitching, Tamika Anderson was the expert speaker that came in to talk about marketing. Last night we had e-commerce and Shopify expert Erica McCrae that came and spoke to the students. She was the host of the Shopify event that was held at the Gathering Spot through Operation Hope a few weeks ago, if you attended it. I've had an attorney to come in and speak about trademarks in various classes before. An accountant is coming in to talk about the financial considerations of starting a business. So the subject matter experts are a great addition to the 8-week course. You also have your business mentor, which is your coach, and startup capital resources. So at the end of the course, when you have your business plan, you are able to pitch. Coaches will send out information about various grants and things that are happening so that you are able to apply for them and hopefully gain capital to fund your business. So there are many pros and cons to having a business. And some of the pros we are very familiar with. If you thought about starting a business, if you have started a business, these are some of the pros and cons that I'm sure you have considered and thought about. Being able to make a difference, reaping unlimited profits. If you start a business, you are the one who really is able to control how much money you are able to make. And you are able to contribute to society and be recognized for your efforts. You get to do something that you enjoy. Some of the cons, it can be some uncertainty with income, longer hours and hard work, and lower quality of life until the business gets established. So when you're starting a business, you may miss birthday parties and anniversaries, may not be able to go on as many vacations, because when you're not working the business, most of the time starting out, it is affecting your profit margin. So the various components of a business plan are listed, and these are the things that we go over in the 8-week course more in depth. But you need a cover page, an executive summary, a business description, product and service description, marketing analysis, business strategy and operating procedures, management, financial plan, and supporting documents. There are various types of legal entities, and this is one of the things that when the attorney comes in that she speaks about as well. You have sole proprietorship, the limited partnership LLC, which is limited liability company. This is the one that's most commonly used. And in Georgia, you have the S corp, C corp, and then you can also start a nonprofit. This is the number to our disaster financial preparedness and recovery. This is a 24-hour hotline. You are able to call this number if you have been affected by a tragedy at all and receive some help from HOPE programs and services. So the disaster preparedness kit, everyone who is registered for this workshop will receive it. It is an emergency financial first aid kit, personal disaster preparedness guide. So this guide helps you prepare in the event of some type of natural disaster. I also want to point out to you before I turn it over to Amy about VITA, the Voluntary Income Tax Assistance Program that offers free tax help to people who generally make $56,000 or less with disabilities and limited English speaking taxpayers who need assistance as well. These are tax professionals that are volunteering their time through the IRS. So the website is on the screen, irs.treasury.gov/free tax prep. So if you are in need of some tax help at tax season is vastly approaching, you are able to go here and find free assistance if you qualify. The Earned Income Tax Credit. The Earned Income Tax Credit is a benefit for working people with low to moderate incomes. To qualify, you must meet certain requirements and file a tax return, even if you do not owe any tax and are not required to file. Earned Income Tax Credit reduces the amount of tax you owe and may give you a refund. So this was a very quick overview of the Small Business Development Program here at Operation HOPE. If you have any questions about the program, please put your questions in the chat, or you can email me directly. If you are interested in signing up for HOPE services, including one-on-one coaching and working with me, you can send me an email and I will be able to help you get started. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. Amy, are you able to hear me now? Okay. I can't hear you though, but I'm assuming the guests can hear you. I think you went out and came back in, so let's see. Okay, try unmuting now.
So, all right, now I think you guys can hear me.
Y'all can hear her? Okay, I can't. We're gonna roll with me not being able to hear you. I'm not sure why I cannot hear you. Okay. Really not sure why I can't hear you, but I'm turning it over to you. As long as all the guests can hear you, that's what's most important to me.
Okay, great. I hate that you can't hear me, but okay, we'll get going. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So if everybody else can hear me, hopefully, let me share my screen. Let's see here. Can you guys see, what do you, I want to just make sure that you can see the federal and corporate contracting, just the main page. If I can get some feedback from somebody. Can you guys see the main screen? Let me see if I can get over. Bear with me for a second. I'm trying to get to PowerPoint. Okay. Now I want to make sure you guys can see me changing my slides before I get started. Can I get some feedback on that, if
I can
possible?
now hear you, Amy, and I can see your slides.
Okay, great. And you can hear me now too, right?
Yes,
Great. And you can see me moving my slides. Let me make
yes.
sure. Lovely. Okay. All right. So, my name is Amy Reese. I'm the founder and CEO of ARC Business Solutions. I'm happy to be here to provide this information on just some insight on both federal and corporate contracting opportunities and how certifications play into those opportunities. And then I'll open it up to Q&A. And actually, to be honest, I like kind of some dialogue going back and forth. So I'm not quite as familiar with Teams as I am with Zoom. But if you want to raise your hand or interject or maybe open the chat, if you have any questions as I go through, then hopefully you guys I'll be able to see that. Or Kimberly, maybe you can facilitate that part of it, and then we can answer questions as I go through. And then, of course, at the end, there'll be some Q&A. What's on the menu? I'm going to give you a brief overview of who I am and how I ended up in this space. I'm going to share some information, the differences between federal and corporate contracting, and what that means for the small business owner. We're also going to talk about what set-asides mean. That's a really big deal and kind of a buzzword going around in the contracting space, especially as it pertains to minority, and disadvantaged businesses. So we'll talk about that. We'll cover some common myths, and then you have some opportunities to get certified if that's something that you want to do. And one of my favorite quotes, of course, is, knowledge isn't power, because people love to say knowledge is power. No, it's not. Knowledge is only power unless it is applied. And so I'm a huge advocate of, once you get that knowledge, making sure that you apply so that you can really affect change and see a big difference in the growth of your business. So just a little bit about me. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I spent 23 years in corporate development. I enjoyed every minute of it. I worked for major corporations. I spent the last 10 years of my journey in corporate America before I left and became a full-time entrepreneur. I spent the last 10 years with a large organization, Fortune 500 company, in which we spearheaded strategic partnerships with household brands. And so I was in charge of a team of a couple of hundred business development executives across the Southeast. And we spearheaded these multi-million-dollar strategic partnerships with companies such as what you see on the screen, Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola, you name it. We also did partnerships with the city of Atlanta and Roswell and some others. And so I loved every minute of it, but I knew that it was time for me to start exiting the corporate space. I started dealing more with my own legacy and all the money that I was helping corporate America make, and I wanted to make a little bit of a bigger impact in this world. And so I started, researching opportunities, and I ended up, long story short, I left corporate America about a year after I became a partner in a property management real estate company. And of course, I was in charge of growing the company because my background is business development. And so I was in charge. Out of the 4 partners, it was 4 minority women owners, and I was in charge of growing the company. And I had never worked in the general population. So when I decided that I wanted to take on that as a task and a partner in this company and growing it, I did it the way I always knew to do it, and that is to go after big stuff, big fish. And so I wanted to not necessarily be in the general marketplace. And so I started researching opportunities to do business as a small business with major players like I was used to doing. And so what I stumbled upon is the federal and the corporate contracting. I learned about certifications and how when you get those certifications, and if you apply them properly and you utilize certain strategies, which I had to learn on my own. It took me about a year, but at the end of it all, I ended up winning some opportunities with Wells Fargo and Bank of America and housing and urban development for the company that I was a partner in. And it was during that entire journey that I knew that I wasn't supposed to stay where I was, but I was supposed to be in the small business space, helping other small businesses understand this space. Because when I went on the journey, it was a nightmare. And I almost walked away. And so I purposed then to hopefully make it easier for other small business owners to be able to do what I had done. And so I launched ARC Business Solutions, and really excited about it. I love corporate America, and this year is 7 years that I've been a full-time entrepreneur for ARC Business Solutions, helping small businesses understand this space, get certified, and providing them a strong foundation. So happy to be a part of this group, helping you to understand what those opportunities are. So now let's talk about the fun stuff, federal contracting. I'm going to break this down because the clients that we work with generally are interested when we talk about I'm a growth strategist, a small business growth strategist, right? And so where I want to play though is I like to tell small business owners how they can get out of the common marketplace and learn how to play in the larger marketplaces so they can get more money. So you work so hard going after the onesie twosies, I call them. You work just as hard really going after the larger fish. And so that's my strategy. There's a method to my madness, but it works. So the first thing though is understanding which marketplace as a small business owner you want to play in. And when I say play in, I mean, where do you want to like state your claim to be able to learn the space and grow? So really depending on the product or service that you offer, many times I think most of our clients realize that they can play in both. But we always recommend choosing one at first because it's a big task. So I'm going to start with the federal space. And so for the purpose of this seminar or workshop is when I say government, I'm talking federal government. I'm talking about government at the highest level because there are different governments, right? We've got our federal government, we've got state, local, and even city municipalities and county, right? So we're not talking about those, although there are opportunities in those spaces too. We're talking federal. So let's talk about our federal government and how they spend our tax-paying dollars. Number one, the federal government is the world's largest purchaser of goods and services. No other entity on the face of this earth buys more than our federal government with your tax-paying dollars, by the way. And so, what this means is that number one, the federal government, they make nothing. They make nothing. Even the classes that they teach and the employment seminar, everything that they do is all contracted in, everything they purchase. So whether it is they need their grass cut, or the windows washed, or they need paper towels, or they need cups, whatever it is that they need, IT services, they need something built, whatever it is, they need it just as an entity, right? Because it's a huge conglomerate of hundreds of agencies that fit under or sit under what we call this conglomerate that we call the federal government, hundreds of agencies. And all of these agencies operate as separate corporations to a certain degree. They're agencies, they're governmental agencies, but they operate separately with their own independent budgets in the millions and billions. Okay, so the federal government, for example, last year spent the budget was $1.2 trillion with the TR trillion dollars, and by law, the federal government must spend 23% of that with small businesses, meaning that if you are a small business owner and you sell something that the government uses, by law, they're supposed to give 23% of that to small businesses, okay? You're in that pot. Now, I want you to understand these numbers because it's a big deal. Less than 1% of small businesses participate in this space. Less than 1%. Which is mind-blowing to me. And that's when I first started my journey, when I was working with the property management real estate company as a partner, and I was looking to grow. I was amazed and didn't understand. I did understand it. After I started the journey, I could understand why so many small business owners give up, even if those have understood or thought they understood it, thought they would give it a try. It's convoluted, it's confusing, and it really, is one of those things that you've got to have a lot of patience. So I understand why less than 1%. And then the other part of it is people just don't know. Small businesses just don't know. They don't understand that this is for them, 23%. So it's not just for your Lockheed Martins and your major corporations that's winning contracts in the billions. It is also for small business owners to be able to tap into what the ecosystem, the procurement ecosystem of our federal government, so that you can sell to the federal government too. There are opportunities for you as well. So next, what happens if less than 1% of small businesses compete in the federal marketplace? What happens to all of those contracts? Because one thing about it is the federal government is going to buy what they need. They will buy it. They will not go without. They will buy what they need. So just because you're not showing up in this space with your product or service to offer, they are still going to buy what they need. And so what happens is giant corporations, they're the ones, because what they do is they turn around and they form smaller businesses that could qualify under the SBA rules as a small business. And they take those contracts. And then, of course, there are other small businesses, true small businesses, who have learned this space, who have taken the time, and who are killing it in the game because they're winning over and over and over again, because the competition just is not there for them, which is you. And so, think about this as you launch your company, and, if everybody else is out there in the general marketplace competing with everybody else, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose. But how different could it be if you spent some extra time learning a marketplace where you eliminate 99% of your competition? I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of how I think. Because I just believe that, if you're going to work hard to go after the small stuff, you might as well, you can put in the same hours and work and go after the larger fish. So just something to think about. So now that was the federal. So now I want to talk to you about corporate. What's the difference between that? Okay, so corporations, I just told you on the federal side, the federal government has it's a law actually that was passed, I think in 2012 or 2011, that mandated the 23% for small businesses. Well, major corporations have similar initiatives. You can Google the name of a company, any large company, put the name of the company, and then put supplier diversity behind it. Supplier diversity, any company, Google it. Staples, supplier diversity. UPS, supplier diversity. Lockheed Martin, supplier, you name it, it doesn't matter. It could be construction. If they are a large enough company, they have supplier diversity or diversity in procurement. Procurement is buying and selling, right? And so diversity in procurement, basically meaning that just like the federal government, they have annual goals that they want to meet to do business with diverse vendors, disadvantaged businesses, right? That would be minorities, women, veterans, LGBTQ, any of those populations that's considered underserved. Most of these companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, have these supplier diversity initiatives, right? So that's the corporate. So that means if you have a product or service and you want to sell it if you want it on the shelf at Walmart, or you want it on the shelf at Kroger or some grocery store or some retail outlet, then what they use, these corporations, they don't have their own way of being able to determine who's really a minority and who's really a woman and all that stuff. That's where the certifications come in, right? But these companies have very similar contracting goals, meaning that most of them will tell you that their goal is to do business with to spend 20 to 25% of their dollars that they spend with small businesses. And so again, this is another space that unfortunately less than 1% compete in. And it's just unfortunate. And so that is where we are right now. And so this thing is not a pot at the end of the rainbow or anything like that. It does take work. When I first launched, I was careful to make sure that I didn't put out the image that this was, getting certified was some pot at the end of the rainbow, or that you didn't have to, all you needed to do is just get certified and that's it. That is not it. But what I'm telling you is that, think about your marketplace. Is it advantageous for you how do you want to spend your time? Because as small business owners, we have limited time. We all get 24 hours in a day. How do you want to spend that time? And outside of just your regular setting up your entity and making sure your systems are in place and everything, when you think about growing your entity, I definitely encourage you to consider getting outside of your comfort zone and exploring a different marketplace. So let's talk about the term set aside. Basically, a set aside is just a category, basically, that's exclusive for certain small businesses. That's what it is. And basically what that means is there are opportunities that they just set aside just for you. That means that they're not putting it out there to bid on. You don't need to do a proposal. It's just set aside. So the government, they increased the cap. It used to be $150,000 or less that it would go. It's called a direct source award or a direct award, meaning that they just find you if you're set up in the federal system, if you are represented properly, and there's some strategy to that, right? Then now it's 250. So anything that they need that is $250,000 or less, they don't even bother with putting it out there to bid, because that's just peanuts to the federal government. I mean, $250,000 is peanuts. A couple of $1,000,000 is peanuts to our federal government. But $250,000 or less, they're saying, don't even bother. Just put it out there and find somebody. And what they do is they go in this database, and if you're represented well, if you're showing up well, if you are, and again, there's some strategy to it. You can't just be showing up any kind of way, but they literally find you for certain projects that's $250,000 or less. And that alone can be a game changer. So I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of small business owners whose life can be changed by winning $100,000 contract or a $50,000 contract, right? Because once you get into that database and they start seeing your work and that you can deliver, they keep coming back to you, because that's what they do. The federal government, that's what they do. And so that's what that means. That's what set asides mean. Now, I want to talk next about the certifications, because there are so many different certifications I need for you guys to understand. And the reason why we went through the spiel on the marketplaces and distinguishing between the marketplaces is because that's primary. You have got to understand your marketplace first, and where you want to play before you actually say, okay, now I'm gonna get certified and really tackle this. So now we can talk about the certifications because we understand the two marketplaces. So one is the Woman-Owned Small Business Certification, or the WOSB. That is administered through the SBA. The approval process has changed. Just FYI, there is a lot of scrupulous activity and fraud in the certification space. And the reason why is because those companies who don't really qualify to be a certified set aside category, they know the power of these certifications. So they go through great lengths to get the certifications that many of you qualify for, because that's what you naturally are. Okay, so woman-owned is one of them. There's also economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, or EDWSB. One that was left off that I need to add on here is the WBE. Now, the WOSB is really more on the federal. I know this says corporate, but it's really more on the federal side, okay? And the EDWSB is on the federal. The WBE, if you are a woman, is really if you want to be on these corporate side, okay? So if you have a product or service that you want to sell to major corporations, then the WBE, okay, if you want to capture that woman-owned set aside designation. Okay, then there's the minority business enterprise, the MBE. Now that is primarily in all the time corporate only. Now, the MBE certification is obviously if you are a minority. So if you are in a minority class, that means that that your company, if it's at least, and this is, by the way, for all of them, at least 51% owned and operated, at least 51%. So it doesn't have to be 100%, but it has to be majority owned. So the MBE. Now, real quick caveat that I want to share: if you are a woman and you are a minority, I don't recommend the WBE. If you want to be in the corporate space, I recommend the MBE if you're a woman and a minority. If you are a woman and you are non-minority and you want to be in the corporate space, then that would be the WBE. And here's why. The WBE certification The certifying agency does not have as many corporate partners as the MBE. The MBE organization, the National Minority Supplier Development Council, they have, I think, about 1,400 corporations that have partnered with them on this. So there's 1,400 or more corporations who say we want to do business with diverse suppliers, minority suppliers, and so their support and their backing is heftier than the WBE. Now, if you are a non-minority woman and you know you want to be in the corporate space, then your best bet is still the WBE. And that's because that's all it would be for the corporate space if you are a woman. And I think the number of corporate partners they have is maybe a little bit over 400. So there's a big difference, but it still is a good opportunity. Okay, so then we've got the veteran-owned small business certification. And then, of course, there's the SD or the service disabled. They're both kind of the same. That really depends on how you retired from the federal government, from your service. So if you are service disabled, if you are on the records with the Department of Veteran Affairs as service disabled, then that's what your certification will be. And if you're not, then it'll be a veteran-owned certification. Those are the creme de la creme of the certifications in the federal space, because for obvious reasons, if you are a veteran, you've served this country, and now you own your business, you should come. Absolutely. There are some really good set-aside opportunities, the best set-aside opportunities if you are a veteran, and it doesn't matter your gender. If you're a veteran, you qualify. Highly recommend this certification on the federal side and also on the corporate for veterans. The hub zone, historically underutilized business zone. That primarily is if you have a brick and mortar, if you have an actual location, and if it's in a historically underutilized business zone, a hub zone, then there are some additional set-asides for you. So the federal government has all of these, and there's more. I mean, there are a couple of more, but these are the foundation ones, and these are the ones that really are best suited for those small businesses who are new to the space, because number one, it doesn't take any particular length of time for you. You don't have to be in business any particular length of time for you to gain those certifications, and you've got that ticket in your hand, and all you've got to do now, that's your entry ticket. Now all you got to do is work it. And so those are the best certifications for that. Some of the other ones, you've got to be in business for a longer period of time, and the process is a lot longer, and it's just not as advantageous for someone just starting out. So now, does your business qualify for any of these certifications? Basically, probably so. But number one, you've got to be considered a small business according to the SBA, right? And basically what that means is, depending on the product or service you offer, that is either a revenue amount. In general, what I see is anywhere between about $15 to $16 million annually you can make as a small business and still be considered a small business. Now, if you are a manufacturing facility, then it's not based on revenue. It is based on number of employees. So that would be under 500 employees. So the likelihood of your business being a small business that meets that category, that qualification, is very high, because over 99% of the businesses that operate in the United States, over 99%, I know I just got through talking about the big giants, but over 99% of them are small businesses. Okay, so just make sure you remember that when we say small businesses, we're not just talking about mom and pop solopreneurs, the little corner grocery stores. We're talking about, in many cases, small businesses are multi-million-dollar organizations as well, right? And so the likelihood of you qualifying as under the SBA size standard is very likely. You've got to be at least 51% unconditionally and directly owned by the set-aside category. Now, what that means is, remember, we just got through talking about set-asides. What does that mean? It's the category: woman, minority, veteran, LGBTQ. So those are the set-asides. You've got to be, your company has got to be at least 51% owned and managed by that set-aside category. You have to manage the day-to-day operations. You've got to make the long-term decisions. Now, that set-aside person must hold the highest officer position. You've got to work full-time. They want to know that you're working full-time to your business. And listen, the reason why is this: procurement officers, when they're going into that database and they're looking to find service providers, they need to know that you can deliver, because they are putting their reputation, that's their job, to find service providers, right? And if you say that you can deliver something and you end up not delivering it, then that means that the government, the agency that tried to hire you, is not going to get what they need, and that is a bad thing for your reputation. So you never want that. But this is the way it works. Your business likely qualifies. And so this is just something that I think is really important for you to remember. Now, I am going to, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on and finish, because I'm almost done with the presentation, and then we're just going to open it up for Q&A. And I hope you've got your questions ready, because we can, I can stay on here as long as I need to answer your questions. So let's go over some myths real quick. So number one, the awards always go to the lowest bid. No, the awards don't always go to the lowest bid, because I just got through telling you that they have set aside quotas, right? Our government and even these corporations have set aside quotas. So, not necessarily doesn't go to the lowest bid. If you are in a set aside category and they're trying to meet their annual goals of their procurement goals, then that's not necessarily true. And it's not necessarily true anyway, because what they really are interested in is, can you deliver? And what is the quality of work you can deliver, right? So that's not true. Of course, that's a myth. You have to have good credit. No, has nothing to do with your personal credit. It has to do with, can you deliver? And what is your past performance like? And what is, are you capable of doing the work, right? So that is what this journey is all about. And that is why it's important to really get a firm foundation and understanding of this space before you endeavor on it. And then, of course, no one really wins these contracts. Well, we know that's crazy. I mean, businesses win these contracts all the time, and it's changing their life. But again, it's after some work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the work real quick, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So we started about 5 years ago doing a workshop to really help small businesses who were not able to financially swing our professional services rates. Because when we first launched, we were just really a boutique firm that was, came by referrals. I mean, a lot of our clients just came from us by word of mouth or what have you. And so they pay a premium, because what happens is, when you're a small business owner and you're growing your business, if you got the financial capital, then you probably don't have the time, right? But if you've got some time, you probably might be lacking in some financial capital. So what we did was we put together a series of workshops to help small businesses understand this federal space, particularly in the contracting space. And it's called the Level Your Playing Field Workshop Series. And we have federal registration workshops where we do these workshops. We pivoted back in 2019 online. So this is all delivered online. It is, we've been doing it live and online. We service clients from New York to New Mexico. And what it is basically, we're teaching you a lot of the foundations that people don't understand. What are industry codes? We help you uncover all of your industry codes. We do these exercises in the workshop, helping you understand the importance of your capability statement. We help you write your narrative in the workshop. We actually get you set up and registered to start receiving open bids. And while you're doing all the things that we teach you to do, and we give you all the templates and clear next steps and everything to do, while you do your part, we actually complete your federal registration or your certification for you. So you're not getting caught up in the weeds on that administrative stuff. That's a nightmare for most people and never get it done. We do that part. And the partnership is, you do what we recommend that you do, because we want to see you grow your business for real, not just get certified. So that's what, and that's what the workshop is. We've got the next one coming up at October 15th. And you can get with Kimberly. You can get with Kimberly for more information. We do have a promo code. We've been doing this workshop now for a couple of years. We've been doing this seminar for Operation Hope for a couple of years. And we give a 50% or $50 off your workshop if you use promo code HOPE. And here is my contact information. And now we can just open it up for Q&A. And Kimberly, if you can facilitate that, or I can read it on the screen, however.
Absolutely. So if you have a question, it would be great if you can use your reactions to raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat while I see the reactions are easiest for me to see in line who is raising their hand to ask a question. But now is your opportunity to ask, because I know I get asked about government contracts all the way. So we do have a question in the chat, Amy, from Albert. It says, cage code registration has been a real nightmare, which I've not solved. Is there a resource that can offer real shared screen assistance to help decipher and overcome error messages automatically generated by SAM.gov?
Oh, Albert, we know it has been a mess, and they changed stuff in April, and it's given my team a run for their money. It's the Federal Service Desk. I'll give you that phone number, but I'm gonna tell you they're just not the easiest to work with. I don't know if you have the federal phone number to the service desk, but I'll give it to you now. If you got something to write with, it's 866-606-8220. So that's 866-606-8220. And call them. But you know, my team, I definitely understand. We have seen our registration slow down. They are starting to pick it back up. I'll tell you that. They are starting to pick it back up. But that's, you know, and again, that's one of the reasons why some small businesses don't want to bother with it, because it takes so many hours. And while you need to be working on something else, that's something we handle. But then of course, this is something that you can do on your own. It's just, you got to weigh out whether you want to be bothered with the headache of it, or let somebody else do it for you. That's a good question though. And hopefully it works out for you. Okay, next.
Right. How long does it take to get SBA certification?
Oh, that's another one. It's taking after, because the process that we take, our system is, once you go into our intake system, we immediately start working. So let's just say somebody registers for our workshop today. The workshop isn't until the 15th. Your information goes into our processing queue. We start working, our team starts working on it right away. And then once, you know, of course, there are certain documents that you got to get over to us. Once those documents are uploaded and we have them, we check them for compliance first. We don't submit anything without checking for compliance, because that's what most people, when they're kind of doing it on their own, they don't know what to check for compliance. So after that takes place, that's normally, it really is based on the speed of the client. But once it gets into the hands of the SBA, it normally has been taken for the woman-owned certification. It's 90 to 120 days. It's been, and they changed their process, by the way, in 2020, October of 2020. And it's gotten a little bit better, but their process is just different now because they're scrutinizing applications. They haven't changed qualifications, but they've changed how they scrutinize, which has slowed down the process.
Okay. The follow-up question to that was, do you help with GSA certification?
You mean GSA schedules, not certification? Probably, I would think, Robbie, is probably what you mean. And the answer is yes.
Any other questions? Okay, she said yes, that's what she meant. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else have a question?
Oh, this information.
Okay, we do have a hand raised, so I'm going to Alicia. I see that you have your hand raised, so I'm coming to you. Then Jonah, I'm coming to you next. Alicia, you should be able to unmute to ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to know, thank you for the information that is shared. Ms. Kimberly, thank you always for sending out such informative information. I wanted to ask, does it matter the organization that you have, whether it be a nonprofit or not? And if so, okay.
No, that's a good question. No, okay. So, and thanks. I need to add that slide because a lot of people ask. We work with a lot of nonprofits too. So let me just explain. In the federal space, the difference between a contract and a grant. Okay, if you are a nonprofit, it's a grant that you get, right? Both entities have to be set up in the same contracting system. If you're a nonprofit, you get a grant. The grant you get up front, and then you got to do the work. If you are for profit, you get a contract. With the contract, you've got to do the work, and then you get paid. Okay, so the answer is yes. So they're nonprofit. It's the same kind of strategy. It's the same kind of setup. Now, nonprofits can't get certified, okay, because there is no ownership in a nonprofit. Because remember, nonprofit, you can be the founder, you can be the executive director, but there's no owner. You have a board. So there's no certification attached to a nonprofit, but the workshop for nonprofits is the same information that you have to have. It's the same setup. It's the same registration process. That's a great question.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Can I then utilize the certification that was there, but I do understand I can't. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Now, real quick, I want to go back. Someone asked, are the workshops only in person? No, all of our workshops, we pivoted in 2019. All of our workshops now, well, we did start back doing some local stuff with the Russell Center, but the main workshops that we have are we have people from all over the country. So they're all live and online. I think that was, I don't know. Oh, that was Shayel. Shayel asked me that question. Okay.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to go to the next hand that's raised, and then I'll come back to the next question that is in the chat. Pamela, I see your question in the chat. Going to come to you after I go to the hand that's raised. Jonah Berry. Jonah, you should be able to unmute to ask your question.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you for having this discussion with us today. I was curious, I'm fairly familiar with everything that you've been speaking about. I'm a small business owner, and I keep hitting walls with trying to get federal contracts. I was curious if ARC, if you already have relationships with like the local OSDBUs and like Jennifer over at the SBA office, so that when you do, if I were to come to you, like, and I applied to get a contract, that my name stands out, because as it is now, like, I'm just not one of the special people. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. What have you done? Okay, so the answer is we do have some relationships with those. What you're talking about, and I'm glad to hear that you're familiar with the office. Every agency is supposed to have an office that is supposed to help small businesses do business with their agency, right? That's what you're talking
Correct.
about.
Correct.
And so my question is going to be to you: what have you done to build the relationship?
So I take the workshops that are offered through each one through the Zooms, and so I get to meet the directors and whatnot. And then as well, I send emails. I try to make phone calls, but that I think is just more irritating than anything else for them. I'll send them my my capability statements, and for each contract I do answer those requests for information or the requests, but I just don't hear anything.
Do you do your
I'm
debriefing?
ghosted. What's that?
Do you do when you apply for a contract and you are do you ask for a debriefing? That's one of the most valuable things that you can do, is a debriefing. Do you get that? That's your right. No?
I don't.
Highly listen, that actually getting turned down for your first couple of contracts is probably a gift, because then you can turn around and ask for a debriefing, and they have to give it to you, and they will tell you everything that you were missing. Everything.
Okay. Because I feel like, like I'm about to quit and try and find a job. I sent you an email already, but I have SD, VOSB, Hub Zone, LGBTQ. I have like, of the 5 or 6 major set asides, I have 4 of them, and I've given my entire life savings to this thing, and I'm nowhere.
Wow.
I feel lost at this point because it's such a big monster.
Yeah, well, and I'm gonna tell you something. My strategy and my workshops are different. I think what you're saying is, I mean, what you're saying is you're on the right path, but you would need to really, you've got to build some teaming relationships. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that we talk about. But you can definitely, if you've already emailed me, then I'll be able to. You can schedule a consult. By the way, anyone can schedule a follow-up consultation if you're interested in learning more, what have you. We do free consultations. There's a link on our website that you can go to for that. And I'll be more than happy to kind of go through those things. But the strategy that I teach in my workshop, you're kind of on the right path. But there are some things that I think that you're probably missing just in terms of probably how you're showing up. And I can't get too deep into it
Right.
on here, but we can talk offline, at another time.
Right, for sure. I don't want to hijack the call, but thank you very much for being here with us, and thank you,
You're very
everyone.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
Great, all great. So I want to there was a question in the chat. I think there may have been, okay, if you are just starting out, is it best to go through the workshop to begin?
Yeah, and the reason, here's why, because you really, the workshop is foundational, right? I mean, it is just so foundational. It's the things that the strategy that's taught in that workshop is not just to help you be set up and do business with the federal government, although that's the main purpose. It is some fundamental stuff about showing up the right way. And once you understand that and you really grasp that, you'll be able to take that information and it'll carry you throughout the other marketplaces that you could potentially be in. And so if you're first starting out, yeah, I would. I think that it's just one of those things that, people, when you own a small business, and you may be great at what you do, you're probably a great engineer or a great IT person or a great, custodian, whatever it is that you do, you're probably great at it, but you're probably not that great at strategy. You're probably not that great at some of the soft skills that it takes in order to really climb this mountain. It's a giant mountain. And I think that I would rather see someone who's just launching start climbing this mountain instead of getting tired, because business owners, we wear ourselves out, and we end up getting tired, and then by the time we figure out, you know what, this isn't working for me in this common marketplace, I need to level up and do something different, you're exhausted and you still need to set aside the time to do this. So yeah, the short answer, I know that was wordy, sorry, but yeah, I would, if you're just launching and this is where you want to be, yeah, in the beginning.
Great, that it was right on point, and there are a lot of comments in the chat about your information is so on point. People have went online and scheduled their consultations. The last question in the chat I see for you, they're questioning how much is the workshop?
Yeah, so it's $797. And also, I will tell you, I started doing a radio segment here in the Atlanta market with the Urban Talk Radio in the mornings. So it's $797, but I started a few months ago because we had people who, couldn't swing even the $797, right? So we did set up a payment. When you go on the website, there are two choices. You can pay full and go on and get registered in the next workshop, or you can, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Afterpay or Klarna or some of those others. Well, this isn't that, but it's in-house. So we break your payment. If you choose the payment option, it gets broken up into 4 payments. It's every 2 weeks until it's paid in full. And then after that last payment, you go into the very next workshop. So we do have another workshop. We've got 2 more before the year is over. We've got the October 15th, and then the last one before the year is over. I think it's December 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So if you decide that you want to do the payment plan, you probably won't be finished with the payment plan for the October workshop, but you'll be done with it for the December workshop.
Great.
Welcome.
I'm losing my chat button. Teams are still. Kimberly, in the beginning, you mentioned small business development program 8-week course. where do we register for that? So you would have to register for that through me. If you will send me an email for that, I can tell you right now that it's going to be several weeks before the next course start, because I currently have a cohort, and by the time it ends, we will be at all of the holidays for the Christmas, and that takes up a lot of time and people's focus. So January, I am launching my next cohort for the ETP, and I currently have people that are on the list that are interested in registering for it. I do have some of my students that's currently in my cohort here right now, and I can tell you it's an amazing course. It's very, very impactful. So if you are interested at all in being in that course, you definitely want to go ahead now and send me an email, because as I stated, I already have people on the list to get into the class. So, and actually, that brings me back, while you guys are still thinking of there any other questions that you have, I do have a short video that I want to be able to play for you guys. And so I'm going to play it right now, and then we will take the final questions if anyone has any other questions for Amy or for myself. So let me go to where I am.
Hi, my name is Kalea Lee. I am the owner and operator of Cage Creation of Middle Georgia LLC, and I am a recent graduate of Operation Hope. I graduated last month, July 16th, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Operation Hope. My instructor is Kimberly Lawson, and I just wanted to jump on real quick to say she did an amazing job. Week after week, giving us the content that we needed, explaining the content, and most importantly for me was helping me apply it to my business. There's a lot of terms and terminology that I've learned, even in just like a more traditional setting, but didn't really know how to connect that to my own personal business. So one of the greatest things I liked about Operation Hope was, like, for instance, a business plan. I've been wanting to do one. It seemed so intimidating at first, but then going through the steps and the process with Operation Hope, it made it doable and actually a rather enjoyable process. I also enjoyed all the guests that she got to come in to speak to us in the different areas, whether it was business, accounting, that kind of thing, business law. Some things I heard of, they went in more in depth, and some things I didn't even know. So I just want to get on real quick and make this video to let you know that I thoroughly enjoyed Operation Hope, and I really enjoyed having Kimberly Lawson as my instructor, and I want to continue to do more in my business, thankfully, because of my experience with Operation Hope. Thank you.
So, that was one of my graduates from the June, well, we started in May. So May, June, July cohort. And it's one thing for me to tell you about the program. It's another thing to hear from someone who actually went through the experience themselves. So if you are interested in being a part of the program and signing up for the next ETP, as we call it, the Entrepreneurship training program, I encourage you to please sign up. My information again is on the screen for you so that you are able to see it. That is my email address to contact me if you are interested in being a part of that, or if you're interested in one-on-one coaching for your business. The services are offered at Operation Hope at no cost to you. We simply just need your time and commitment and bring your enthusiasm to be a part and work. I am going to also send out to you the resource for the disaster preparedness kit, and I will be sharing with you the registration link for Amy's upcoming workshop. So I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, and we are a little bit past 1, but this has been such great information. The information has been so phenomenal. And I do see the thing in the chat asking about the cost of ETP. I did cover that. There is offered at no cost. It is offered at no cost. Any other questions for Amy? Any other questions for Amy? This certification information, I have to tell you, Amy, has been so beneficial to me. I receive a lot of questions, as I'm sure you can imagine, with clients coming on and they're wanting to know about business certification and government contracting. And oftentimes people believe that we are connected to the federal government. And I'm like, no, we're a nonprofit. We don't have a relationship with the federal government. I wish we did. But, and all the things that you've said about how confusing it can be, we heard from Jonah talking about his struggles in it. And it's definitely something that's a difficult space to navigate in. So I truly appreciate you coming in today and sharing this information. I learned some new things myself, you know, all of the different certifications. I did not know there's a veterans certification. I didn't know that. And then there's one specifically for disabled veterans. Did not know that. But that's great information to have, because I received an email today from 3 people who are veterans that are interested. So, you know, I now have another resource to send them over to really gain this information from an expert and take the headache away. Thank you.
My pleasure. This is fun. Love it.
It shows when, you know, you're something that you are passionate about. So I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, guys. I am going to send you over all of the information that I have promised to send to you. Please reach out to Amy if you are interested in having that consultation. I saw some people put in the chat that they have already went to the website and signed up for that consultation. Having that conversation will help you understand what you want your next step to be. And this is not at all me, you know, advocating, telling you to definitely sign up for the workshop. I'm advocating for you having a conversation to learn more, because, you know, knowledge is power if you are applying it. And I agree with that totally. Just knowing things and not doing anything with it. And I believe in, you know, using your resources. So sign up for the consultation if you are interested. Sign up with for services through Operation Hope if you would like to work with me and know more, because you are able to do both. Our services are not in competition with each other. They're operating in 2 totally different spaces, but we have one united goal, and that's that we want all of you to be successful in your business.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here for this Lunch and Learn. This has been very informative. Continue to check your emails. Like I said, I love bringing information to all of you of things that you want to know more about. So if you are in Metro Atlanta, I heard that Hurricane Ian is supposed to wreak a little havoc here towards the weekend. Please be safe. COVID is still out here, monkeypox and all of these things. So just be safe on the streets, be safe when you're interacting with people, and have a beautiful rest of the day, everyone. Hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Bye, Amy. Thank you.
You're welcome.